Hello and welcome to the Raising Men Show, and I'm your host, Craig Carlisle. And man, these days come around so fast. I'm enjoying these Tuesdays we're together. We calling them Super Tuesdays. Super Tuesdays are the best. We get a chance to share and dialogue and hear from the heart of God as we're dealing with raising men. And I've been doing a lot of soul searching and time with the Lord, and I'm getting a lot of great feedback as well as what are we doing with the show? What's the direction? Where are we going? Are we really delivering on the promise that we set forth, and which is an opportunity for men to become better men, husbands, fathers, brothers, neighbors, just better. And I'm hoping that you guys are becoming better, hoping that you're getting something out of it, out of the time we've been sharing, the time you've been listening, and getting something out of the time that the Lord has been giving and dealing with me on certain topics. These topics are important to me, and I know that there's men out there where these topics will be important to them, because when I was first a widow, it's kind of funny how you first become a widow, but what I should say, when my wife first died, I dealt a lot with me and the gooey, gory topics of the sadness and the fear and the things that just hurt to death. But over these past 4 years, I've been realizing that the Lord is really, changing and shaping and redefining who I am and where I'm going. And the darkness is fading and the light is dawning. And there's an opportunity to be happy and encouraging again, and not just dwelling in that, well, some even said wallowing in the where I was. Because I'll never no longer be a widow, and legally by the state of, by the government, state of California and the federal government, things like that, though, until I marry again, I'll always be a widow. Well, that's fine, but that's not going to define who I am. I'm no longer going to let that be the marker, the banner, the albatross that hangs around my neck. So the Lord had given me the new philosophy and the new topic, a new, community page to write under, and it's called The Art of Living. Because as we're living day to day, as we're moving from place to place, there is an art to living. And it has to do with everything that's positive in your life, and everything that you need to look forward to. It has everything to do with life. And so we have it starting off with belief, peace, and love. That's the foundational pillars of what the art of living is all about. So we're going to start talking a lot on the Raising Men Show and being real specific about what we're doing here. And we're very, very specific about how we need to be and believe and have peace and love about it. And we're framing these all around the context of being men raising men, or their children in general. And because we're not just raising children of any type, we're raising men, we're raising, those of you who have female children, we're really raising women. So today we're dealing with living. That's the principle that we're dealing with today. It's living. Because there's an art to living, and it has everything to do with living. I know that may sound corny. It's like, Craig, what are you talking about here on the Raising Men Show? And I'm your host, Craig Carlisle. What are you talking about today? I'm talking about living. So when we were doing our devotional this morning, and I was sitting down with my youngest 4 sons, and I let them know, hey, this is the topic of the day. There's an art to living, and it has everything to do with living. They kind of looked at me like, okay, that's kind of redundant, Dad. But it's not. Though it may sound redundant in its topic and its use of the English language and the putting together of words, but it has everything to do with living. Because if we sit around in our lives and don't do anything, and if we sit back and just let everything go by and dream about the future and wish and want and don't put any fuel to it, don't put any feet to it, don't put any action to it, we're going to be sitting here day after day, year after year, moment after moment, lifetime after lifetime, in the same spot. We'll never accomplish those dreams that we have. Well, let's just say fantasies, because a lot of us have fantasies in our life of things that we know will never take place. People that we'll never be with, cars we'll never drive, homes we'll never have, places we'll never go, because we're not putting any energy or no feet to it, no action to it. But the example, as I gave my sons today, I said, boys, we're going to we're going to look at our dreams. We're going to find out what the Lord wants for us for those dreams. And we're going to pray that the Lord puts in our mind and our heart and our spirit the things that we're supposed to do to edify him. And as we're doing those things, they become dreams or goals that we're actively moving towards. And I have a great example of what happens when you don't move towards your dream. My late wife, she had quite a clothing collection. And I think she got it honestly from her mom. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who have great clothing collections, whether it be men or women. And it's not a big deal to have a lot of clothes. It's just when you have them, the important thing is you got to wear them. It doesn't make sense to buy things and set them down and watch and leave the tags on them and never use them. And they just sit there hanging, or they sit there on shelves or in boxes. And some of them obviously have never been worn. So that's the point we're trying to make, is that they could actually be used for other things. My late wife and her mother, I had their clothes to dispose of respectfully after my wife passed away. My wife had gathered my mother-in-law's clothes, and she couldn't dispose of them. She was trying her best to be able to fit the ones that she could fit, or when she became, even smaller than that size, she wanted to hold on to them, to be respectful to them and honor her mother. And I think in a lot of cases, just to remember her mother as she was in those frozen moments of time, when she remembered what her mother wore the last time she was in that outfit, or that time when she was together with her mother, when she had that outfit on. And some of the outfits had not been washed since her mom had worn them last. So you were able to hold them and take a deep inhale, and you can even smell the perfume and the odor that her mother last had when she was in that outfit. Same was the case with my wife's clothes. I let my wife's clothes hang in the closet probably a good 2 years after she passed. Oh, yeah, okay. And looking back on it now, I kind of go, man, that was one of the most retarded things I think I ever could have done, is let these clothes just sit here. Because for 2 years straight, it was a daily agony when you go in there and you go, you know what? She's not here. But here's the hanging memorial to my late wife's life. A collection of clothes. And there was points where I couldn't look at them. There was points I couldn't touch them. I wasn't living then. I didn't have an art to living there. Well, of course, you can say, yes, there was an art to even living then when you look at that static position when I wasn't living. So there was an art to that too. It wasn't great art. It's horrible art. It's painful art. Painful to look at. And I know there's a lot of other people that are out there who are widows who've lost loved ones, and they just can't touch the clothes, and they go to have these hoarding type lifestyles where there's stuff in their houses and their apartments and their, I don't know whether it could be cars, could be sheds, could be garages, who knows, wherever their loved one's stuff last was. They're frozen memorials. The place where we live become tombs and mausoleums to a life that's gone. We can't do that anymore. We've got to live. We have to live. So that's the principle I'm trying to remind and show and live out for my sons every day, that there's an art to living, and it has everything to do with living. So as I was sharing this with my sons this morning, I reminded them and I showed them and said, hey, this is what Dad did. For 2 years straight, we just kind of sat there and Mom's clothes hung. And then there was a day I just couldn't take it anymore. I pulled her clothes down out of the closet. But it wasn't like it was one of those, oh, let's just go ahead and do it. For me, it took a lot. I had to kick myself. We had to just do it. And so as I began to do it, I just began to grab and yank clothes. And I pulled them off the hangers, and some of the hangers broke, and I took them down to the middle area. At this time, we have an upstairs, downstairs home. So I pulled her stuff out, and I was taking it out to the central area, and I was throwing them over the rail. So they were all collecting in the front foyer area by the door. And I was just throwing stuff, and I was just going for it. I was just throwing stuff, and I did it. So please believe me, I did it at a time when there was nobody at home. So my kids didn't see their dad in this fit of, I want to say passion. I don't want to say rage, because I wasn't angry. But I was sad. And again, this is, for those who believe this is a grief share opportunity, okay, yeah, it's grief share. So what? It is what it is. But I believe it's helping men. I believe it's helping people who are hurting. I believe it helps people who are like me, who didn't have a guidepost. Widowers out there who are wondering what to do with their spouse's stuff. How do you touch it? How long do you leave it there? What's the right answer? I don't have a right answer for you. There is no right answer. Probably is the answer I have for you. There's no right way to grieve. There is, however, a wrong way. And the wrong way has everything to do with sitting and wallowing in your fear and your pain and not ever doing anything about it and not ever moving forward and not living. That's the wrong way to live. That's the wrong way to grieve. So as I was sharing with my sons, I put all this stuff, and as I was going through this whole fury of activity and throwing stuff and moving stuff and gathering stuff, and I wound up with this big pile of clothes of my wife's stuff at the bottom of the stairs, and it wasn't enough. I kind of started to enjoy. There was a sick enjoyment I had that's like, I'm moving forward. I'm living. I'm able to look at that closet and go, okay, it's empty now. I can move. This living example, living painful memory is no longer there facing me every day. I've got to get more. There was more for me. And I went after my mother-in-law's clothes. And I pulled clothing after clothing, suit after suit, dress after dress, shoes after shoes from that closet as well. And I was tossing them down the stairs. And I tell you what, I got down to the end of both ladies' clothes. And I just sat there looking over the rail. I caught my breath and I saw this big mound of clothes. And it just hit me that the lives of two women that I respected and loved had been reduced to a pile of fabric at the bottom of my stairs. And I thought, if that's all that life comes down to, is a collection of stuff, unused, unworn stuff, there's something else that needs to be done with the commentary. And please believe it, I'm not trying to say that my mother-in-law or my late wife were nothing more than stuff, and that they were shallow, that they were empty, that their life did not have meaning. I'm not saying that at all, because they were great women. They had great lives. They had great moments. They had great things to share. They shared with a lot of people. They had impact on a lot of people's lives. They lived. But there was moments that they didn't. There was parts of their life that they did, and they sat back. So the example that they gave and left me was when I began to gather up those clothes that I had so carelessly tossed downstairs, I began to then respectfully fold them up and put them in boxes and bags and fold them up neatly as I was taking them over to Salvation Army. And as I was beginning to fold through this pile of clothes and separate them by size and separate them by person and put them in their boxes, I came across a few that had never been worn. And now, ladies out there who are listening, I know you understand that you buy clothes and you don't wear them, and they just hang in your closet, or they sit in the drawer, or they sit on your favorite chair, or however you store your clothes before you wear them, and they were just there. Tags after tags after tags for outfit after outfit that I'm sure they had great expectations and great thoughts as to when they would wear them. But those, for me, were ringing out as parts of life that never took place, because they were looking for that perfect outfit or that perfect pair of shoes or that perfect accessory to go with this perfect outfit, to go on that perfect day that was that perfectly never came. That's not living. So for me, the takeaway that I'm creating as a principle for my sons and for the rest of you to live and understand out there and to get behind is that we've got to live today. And as the boys and I were sitting this morning as part of our devotional, and we were going over that there's an art to living, and it has everything to do with living. As they were reading that themselves and they were talking amongst themselves, I asked them, what are you doing with your life, and how do you live right now, and what's the issue with looking towards the future and dreaming and wishing and wanting? What's the problem with that? And my 13-year-old Caden says, if we keep doing that, keep looking towards the future and keep looking and not living now, your present ends up in a shambles. I was like, wow, that's it right there. That's the example. That's the word. That's the truth, is that if we look so much towards the future, without putting any effort to actually getting there. Because the mental sweat has nothing to do with your physical sweat that gets there. Your current present day life is lacking. And I asked each one of my sons, I says, how often do you sit and you think and you dream about tomorrow? And you dream about tomorrow and you look towards tomorrow. They were like, yeah, we do that a lot. And, I do that. And, they sat there talking amongst themselves as to when they did it and why they did it and why they shouldn't do it anymore. And the impact on our lives right now when we do that. Because we've got some things that we're working on right now that we're making decisions on, that we're moving forward on, that we're taking those steps of faith right now today, because we've got to make decisions for today. We've got to move for today. We've got to do more than just get up, get dressed, and go to school. There's other things we want to do that helps us make it to that dream for tomorrow, but we've got to set forward those steps and make those steps of faith today. If you're looking to write a book, you've got to write some words today. You've got to open your favorite journal or open your computer and type and write and put those words on paper today. And if you want to lose weight, you've got to stop eating that food today. You've got to put that guilty pleasure down and stop doing it. If you want to stop smoking, you've got to stop lighting up that cigarette or cigar. You've got to put it down. If you want to stop drinking, you've got to stop opening that bottle or can. Put the glass down. If you want to get in better shape, you got to get up. You got to start moving. You got to start living. You got to start exercising. If you want to be a great speaker, you got to speak. You got to write things down. You have to develop your platform. If you want to be a writer, you got to write your book. You got to finish it. You got to finish something. But the most important thing is that you have to start. So as I'm reminding my kids, as we're living, the principle is that you've got to live, and there's an art to living. And it has everything to do with living. Again, if you're just joining us, you've come in on the RZNGMEN Show, and I'm your host, Craig Carlisle. And the topic today is there's an art to living. And it has everything to do with living. So as you continue to live your life, as we continue to live our lives, as we continue to work together, we're going to frame the art of living with everything to have to do with living and this topic today around Matthew 6:34. It says, therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. Man, that's a great word for me, because I sit back a lot and I get at night and it's dark, and the darkness seems to come sometimes kind of cuddle in around you, want to close in on you sometimes, and you start to think about the issues that you have, the troubles of the life that you have, and the wants and needs that you wish are fulfilled, and the bills that don't match, and the people who are looking for their money, and the issues that you have, or the sadness that you may have. But you know what? Those are the times when you take captive those thoughts and you put them aside and you hand them over to God, and you say, you know what, I'm casting my cares on you because you care for me. So I'm not going to worry about tomorrow. I'm going to worry about today. I'm going to live today. So today, as we're doing this broadcast together today, we're setting the example of what are we doing today? What's the one step thing we're going to do today to make today worth it? That's going to work towards tomorrow's goal. So we're setting some realistic goals. So today we're doing the show together. We did a devotional together with the kids. Those are kingdom steps that I've made today. So I'm excited. So I'm challenging each one of you to make your example, make your list of things that you want to do. And let's set the dreams in motion. Let's work each day towards that dream and towards those goals. And whether it be weight loss, or whether it be to stop smoking or drinking, or to get into better shape and write a book, become an actor, become a great musician or athlete. There's such a collection of things in life that you could do and that you want to do. And the Lord has put those vocations in your heart. He's giving those desires of your heart. He'll give you, but you've got to step forward. You've got to move towards those things and not worry about the people, the naysayers who say you can't, and stop surrounding yourself with those people who say that you can't. Those who are preying on you. Now that's PREYING on you, not praying on you. Praying. Because we all have those people out there. They may look at you in your face and smile and laugh and even pretend that they're there for you, but they're not there for you. They're there for you. So let's make sure we understand what Craig, when he's talking about, you used the word for 3 times in a row, but in different contexts. There's people in our lives that are not there to live with us, to help us live. They're coming to take things from us. Some people say, yeah, they're coming to take my shine. Yeah, they're coming to take your shine. They're coming to take your energy. They're coming to take your power. They're coming to take everything about you that they see in you. That's what they want in their life that they don't have. They're coming to make sure that you don't get there. Well, how does that do with living? Well, you know what? There's an art to living, and it has everything to do with living. And there's just some folks that we're living with in our life that don't want to see us live. So as a part of our living, we've got to be able to understand that who we're hanging around with and who we show up at their functions and who we're talking to and call and text, we're validating. Who are we validating? That's also a part of living. And who's hanging around us validates us. So the people that are hanging around us, that are talking, that are speaking into our lives, we need to make sure that they're speaking life into our life and not death. I'm sure we all have those friends out there that are always, like Eeyore. Our life isn't good, or my life is so bad. You know what? Those people need to go. We need to cut those like dead fish, dead weight. Let them go. Because there's an art to living. And it has everything to do with living. And if we're not going to live, then you know what? You might as well, you can die now. I'm not advocating suicide. I'm not advocating any of that. I'm just saying you might as well sit down and get out the way. Because you're already dead. You're already not living. You're already just sitting there and life is passing you by. And you're waiting for your time to be up. You're waiting for God to count all your days up in a row and take you where he'd have you to be. But, if we're like the landowner that had the 3 slaves and he gave them talents and gifts. The Lord has given us all gifts and talents. And if when we get a chance to meet God and he asks us, what did you do with the talents that I gave you? The ability to speak and write and sing and dance and do any other types of athletic competition or whatever you like, sew, cook, clean, whatever the Lord gave you to do, what did you do with that talent? Did you lay it under a bush? Because you knew that the landowner, the taskmaster, was such a fierce man or woman and fierce competitor that you didn't want to come up lacking. You just wanted to give them back what they gave you. Okay, God, you gave me that one talent. Maybe my only talent is just to cook. Okay, I'm going to give you that cook. I'm not going to do anything with it. I'm not going to try to multiply it. I'm not going to try to create a business with it. I'm not going to try to teach anyone and replicate myself and teach my children how to cook or clean or sew or iron. Or I'm just going to give you that right back, God. So at the end, when I meet you in heaven, I get to the gates, when I get to the point of judgment, I can give you that one talent back. Or did the Lord give you multiple gifts of being able to sing and to write and to talk and to teach? And did you replicate yourself? Did you teach your children how to do it? Did you teach them how to have a vocation? Did you teach them how to have a career? Did you teach them how to be? Did you teach them how to take care of themselves? Did you teach them how to wash and iron and cook? Did you teach them how to learn? Did you teach them how to read and do math? Did you teach them how to follow their dreams? Did you teach them how to hear the voice of God? Did you teach them how to teach someone else? Did you teach them how to teach their children? Did you teach them how to be better? Did you teach them how to live? Because our kids are great sponges. They're going to see how we live just by how we walk and how we talk, or how we don't walk, or how we don't talk, or how we may live or lay on the couch all day long and drink or smoke and cry all day long and wallow and wish and moan or do drugs or whatever we do. Our kids are going to see how it is. So our kids are going to show and see, I should not show, their kids are going to see the art of living through how we live. So if we're going to show someone how to live, we might as well show them the good things. We might as well show them all of the things that we want to do, the things that we live, the things that we like and the things we don't like, and we want to do them well instead of showing them the bad. Do you ever wonder why your kids do the weird things that they do? They don't pick up things on the floor, off the floor. They don't speak respectfully to adults, that they don't speak respectfully to each other. They don't do their homework, and they don't finish things. It's because we don't. Because we don't live. I can't expect my kids to finish a book or finish a project if I don't finish mine. I can't expect my kids to have clean rooms and made beds if my room is dirty and my bed is unmade. So there is an art to living, and it has everything to do with living. Cleaning up the bathroom, cleaning up the floors, ironing your clothes. In my case, in our house, we use starch. Have the finished look. Carrying yourself well, speaking well, reducing the number of ums and uhs, looking at people in the eye. So as men, it's important that you look a man in the eye, look a person in the eye when you're talking to them. That's living. Firm handshake. Speaking up when you're spoken to, not mumbling over in the corner. People have to keep asking you, what? What'd you say? Excuse me? Yeah. As a father, that's the art of living. Replicating yourself so that you don't have to worry about what your kids are going to do after you're gone, because you're going to be going. You're going. Please believe it. You're going. We're all going. But what legacy are we leaving behind? What living are we leaving behind? Are we leaving death behind in our wake when we're gone and go, who in the world raised those kids? I can't have that. I'm not going to have that. My wife died, yes, but my kids are not going to be the ones who are going to be targeted by saying, oh, that's that widow guy's sons. They ain't worth nothing. Their dad must have been a deadbeat. No, I'm sorry. Not having that one, because there's an art to living, and it has everything to do with living, and we're living. We're going to live. And we're not going to live for their mother. We're not going to live for my late wife. We're going to live for us. Because when life gets hard and times get hard, you don't get up off the mat for someone else. You get up off the mat for you, because there's something deep inside of you that drives, that pushes you to get up. Let's go. And I'm not saying you don't sit there and you take a moment and rest and grieve and catch your breath. But that doesn't turn out to be 2, 3, 4 years, 5 years, 20 years, 50, 30, 40 years. So we're going to live. We're going to celebrate birthdays and holidays. We're going to celebrate the opening of an envelope. Ryan had a band concert last night, and we celebrated last night afterwards with ice cream and frozen yogurt. We laughed and we talked and we enjoyed the moment. That's what I'm encouraging you all to do, to live. Again, you've been listening to Craig Carlisle on the RZNGMEN Show. And remember that there's an art to living, and it has everything to do with living. Be blessed, you all. See you next week.